And we're live. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of Coronavirus Conversations with Richland Source. And I'm your host, Jay Allred. I'm the president and publisher of Source Media Properties, and we are really glad to join you for this Friday edition of Coronavirus Conversations and the last of this group of Coronavirus Conversations. We have done 15 shows in a row, 3 weeks in a row, and we're going to take a little breath next week and rethink a little bit about what we're up to and where we want to take the show next. But certainly last is not least in this case. I'm here with two extraordinarily well-qualified folks who are joining us from two really cool facilities. I'm here with Chris Hershberger of Black Belt Pro Fitness. Also an Olympic Taekwondo coach. Oh, we have those here. That's kind of cool. And I'm also here with Emily Freeman of OhioHealth. Emily is managing and drives their whole Strive to Thrive program, as well as does a ton of fitness work at OhioHealth. And we're really glad to have both of them join us here on the live stream, both on Crowdcast and also on Facebook. So thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jay.
So I kind of want to just start with sort of some introductory questions. And I'd love to know, tell the audience and the folks that are watching who you guys are and how you got into this line of work. Emily, we'll start with you.
Oh, sure. Hi. Well, I'm Emily. I work for OhioHealth. I'm one of the trainers here at the fitness center. How I got into this line of work, I've always enjoyed exercise, even from really young. I can remember like watching my mom do like step aerobics and sort of trying to follow along as a kid. And then I was a member of the Y for many, many years. I always liked group exercise. Actually, I took a few Taekwondo classes from Chris and picked up a few of his moves. But then I decided to major in exercise science in college, and I sort of just landed this really cool job where I pretty much get paid to exercise.
That's not a bad gig. I mean, unless you hate exercise, but right. hopefully the folks on this show today are not those folks. Chris, how about you? Talk to us a little bit about your story and how your journey brought you to where you are right now.
So I've been, exercising since I was 8, pretty rigorously. I started in martial arts, and that was the friendly house of the boxing gym and at the old YMCA on Park Avenue, where I started my martial arts training. So I've been very active. I was also involved with athletics in school, middle school and high school. But once I got to the 8th grade time frame, I really honed in on the martial arts and decided that this is something that I'm really passionate about. And that also involved fitness, because in the martial arts world, in the competitive world, if you wanted to be a good competitor, you had to have a good conditioning set and just an overall wellness program. So by the time I was 18, I already started, teaching, and I had my own program, and that involved being a personal trainer. I was certified at 18, and I just fell in love with fitness and transformation, helping people. And so I've just been, passionately involved with that, for the past 30 years. And now, I have a training center where we focus not only on everyday people that are trying to improve their fitness, but I also work with aspiring Olympians and people that are really pushing the envelope with their training.
So just, you've kind of touched on this, but at the fitness center at OhioHealth, Emily, what sort of fitness and health services does the OhioHealth Fitness Center provide to folks? Like, talk to us a little bit about your clientele and the sorts of things that you're able to provide to folks that are at the fitness center.
Sure. So we're a community-based fitness center. You don't have to have a script from the doctor to go to the fitness center. Anybody can just walk in and join. Our clientele is really wide in it. There's a lot of variety there as well. We work with a lot of different fitness levels, but we also work with a lot of different special populations. So we have great programming for people that are suffering from arthritis, or we have specific exercise classes that are developed for people with Parkinson's. We also work, with weight loss, pre-diabetes and diabetes management, a wide variety of things for a wide variety of people's health problems. Exercise is sort of a medicine for it all.
Chris, on your end, Black Belt has there's a niche clientele that that are sort of high-end martial arts athletes that you're coaching personally, but then you also have you sort of have a broader clientele that I think a lot of people may not know about. And I want to give you kind of an opportunity to share, what you guys are doing at that new facility out on 4th Street.
Sure. Yeah. So with Black Belt Pro Fitness, we started off our first year of operation just catering to our Olympic aspiring athletes. And then this past January, we opened to the community for our traditional martial arts program. And that's for anyone that wants to learn general self-defense, get in shape, and that kind of thing. But we also have an executive fitness program that I've been running for the past 15 years, with various clients from Fortune 500 companies to stay-at-home moms. And it's really evidence-based training. I don't really get caught up in the fads and, all the things that, they're in the magazines or you're seeing on Facebook or whatnot. Everything that we do here, I really try to base on efficacy. And what I've learned is, and I think Emily can definitely second this, is we've become behavioral scientists over the years with personal fitness. Because if you're doing any type of transformative work in our field, it means you're handling behaviors and habits and things like that. So it's been interesting. If I could do it all over again, I'd probably go back and major in behavioral science as well, because I've done probably enough reading outside of schooling to get a degree, but it's due to enjoyment. So what I wanted to do here at Black Belt Pro Fitness is to offer, very specific guided training for people to learn very, very, good behaviors and how to transcend I'm just going to do this for 15 or 30 days, reach a small short-term goal and then quit. We're here for the long haul, just like Emily and what they're doing at OhioHealth. And we just hope to educate and encourage people to develop better lifestyles.
That's great. So just if you're just joining us now on Crowdcast or on Facebook, I just want to welcome you. I'm Jay Allred. I'm with Source Media Properties, and you are at the Friday edition of Coronavirus Conversations. We are talking with Emily Freeman from the OhioHealth Fitness Center and Chris Hershberger from Black Belt Pro Fitness about trying to stay fit in the midst of a pandemic when my gym is closed and I have to move from plan A to plan B, as Emily said early on in our conversation. I'm also joined by my colleague, Brittany Schock, who is our solutions and engagement editor. Brittany is all over the chat here in Crowdcast, as also on all of our Facebook feeds where we're streaming this live. So guys, exercise and fitness is often seen as sort of an other focused activity. The phrase is, I'm going to try to work out so I can fit into these pants so someone else will think I look good. And we see that all the time. Does that work in the long run, and why? And Em, I'll start with you.
Sure. Well, that phrase is definitely relatable. Everyone at some point has said before, I want to lose weight for my wedding. I want to lose weight for my son's graduation party. I want to lose weight for this big event, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with saying that. The problem maybe lies in the person's motivation, though, for long-term success. So motivation, that drives your decisions based on what you're going to do. Your motivation will drive your decisions. So this person, when they make that statement, they're saying that they're motivated by how they look, and for someone else to compliment them. Basically, it's because they look good. That's an external motivator. Typically, you want to find some motivation internally so that you can have long-term success. Because that motivation might work for a little bit, but in the long term, it's not going to it's not going to work out for them. So again, nothing wrong with it, but we want to try to find some internal motivation that really hits home and really says, I want to exercise because I really like the way that I feel after I exercise. It makes me feel empowered. It makes me feel good about myself. I'm going to exercise today because it's going to bring me one step closer to the person that, I want to become in the future, and I want to be independent. So that's sort of my take on that one.
Chris, how does that statement resonate with you? And does an others focused motivation with regards to exercise, is it effective in the long run? I know it can be effective in the short run, or what's your experience though as a trainer over the last few decades?
Yeah, I think Emily nailed it. She definitely touched on the intrinsic and extrinsic values of a goal setting system. But what I always start with any client that I work with is I ask them if they're ready to be in love with the process as much as they are with the idea or the end goal. And oftentimes when people look at an extrinsic goal, like I want to fit into a dress for a wedding, or I want, to have bigger biceps, for, swimsuit season or whatever it may be. When you're too stuck on that idea, you forget that the process is very, very important and how you adapt to that process. And you actually lose the opportunity to hone in on and really, really address the value and all the small things. The more energy you have, the better quality sleep, the need to want to eat better nutrition, things like that. You sort of forget that and push that to the side when you're too heavily focused on that external goal, even if it's short term or long term.
With that in mind, what's the best way to think about general health and fitness in your experience? And is that, if I asked you that question 6 weeks ago, which is what's the best way to think about general health and fitness, would that still be true today? Or would your answer have changed? Chris, I'll start.
Yeah, I think for me, the answer has stayed the same. I don't think that from a lifestyle transformative standpoint that because of the pandemic, we should have changed, our outlook on it. I think that there are more barriers, because if we were a little more codependent on exterior forces, like I need to get to the gym, or I need this video, or I need to be able to eat this, as Emily alluded to earlier, then that's just another barrier that we have to overcome. So I think in my experience, when you're dealing with someone trying to move into a transformative lifestyle, getting rid of those barriers is the objective for me. Like I look at a situation, platform that this person is living and say, what do we need to get rid of to get you in a position that you want to be in for good health? And what does good health mean? And I really always try to convince people that there are internal markers that we need to be focused on more than what we see when we look into a mirror, because oftentimes people walking around us every day look very healthy, but internally they are not, because they're not following certain, health guidelines.
How about you, Emily? What's the most important part of, or, what's the best way to think about general health and fitness? And same question for you.
Yeah, I really like what Chris said, just about not just looking in the mirror and making it so physical. There's so many aspects to wellness just outside of fitness that makes someone healthy and makes someone well. Then obviously there's your physical fitness, but there's also your emotional wellness and your financial wellness, your spiritual wellness. It's so encompassing, and it's very broad and holistic. It's hard just to look at someone from the exterior and say, well, they're a picture of health and wellness. We really need to look at the whole person. And I also think, just to go back to your question, that wellness is a journey. 6 weeks ago, what I thought that this would have been the path that I was on, nope, I didn't see this one coming. I think a lot of people didn't see this coming. But we're all on the same path right now. It could look different for people, and there's different ways we can approach this path. But since it's a journey and we know we have to get from point A to point B, we're going to have to be a little bit creative in the next few weeks to get there and just maintain our health and wellness on the way.
We were talking about this earlier in the green room before we went live about how Emily and her team at OhioHealth are collaborating with the Source they're a huge collaborator with us on our Thrive section. And I'm sure Brittany will post a link to that in the comments, but we're working on a particular program right now called Strive to Thrive, where Emily is working, and her team are working with, I think, 9 different folks with some really intensive personal training that was very in person for a long time. And then all of a sudden it's not in person anymore. And talk about getting hit with, a need to have a plan B and to be able to have that be part of your just day-to-day life. Can you talk about how that's been for you as a coach and your team of coaches and the folks that are going through that? Maybe give them a shout out, a little bit of encouragement for those folks that are out there plugging away.
Well, it was frustrating. I mean, we were 3 weeks till the end, and we had so much to celebrate. And then this happened out of nowhere with very little time to prepare. And it just was hard. It was, we were so used to making that connection and having that accountability built into the program, where we were meeting with them weekly, seeing them multiple times. And I think that's been the hardest piece, is just they lost that sense of accountability with us. So we can still have that accountability. We're just going to have to do it. It's going to have to look and feel different. I mean, as great as this isn't in person. And I really like in-person stuff. I think everyone does. I think everyone definitely can relate to that. Virtual is great, but in person's better.
Did and this is kind of a segue into my next question. Why do you guys think, and you both teach, you both do personal training, and you both do other things, but why do you think group classes are popular? And in this environment, how are you guys replicating? I'm really interested because you're both doing really innovative things with training and replicating a group class or an in-person experience in a virtual way. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you guys are doing that. And Emily, if it's okay with you, we'll just kind of start with you because you're already doing that with your Strive to Thrive stuff.
Sure. Well, our partnership with Richland Source has really opened the doors for not only our members of the fitness center, but also just the community at large. Weekly, we're posting workout videos that they can be viewed. We're trying to make sure, knowing that not like an exercise isn't one size fits all, we're trying to show a lot of different modifications, knowing that everyone's at a different fitness level. I'm not there in person watching you exercise. So I need to be really purposeful in the way that I cue and make sure that you have lots of options available to you. So we really appreciate that. Richland Sources, we've been able to partner with this. We think it's great for the community to have those resources on hand to be able to do that. The fitness center's closed, but we sort of opened jokingly a virtual fitness center really quick. And so we invited our members to be a part of our Facebook group where we're basically repeating what we're doing with you guys. We're just offering lots of classes. Again, we can't see people working out, so we're going to have to be really deliberate and with our cues and try to help them and answer questions. Sort of another neat thing that the fitness center at OhioHealth has been doing is since we have such a large senior population, we've almost been a call center for Facebook. We've helped a lot of senior adults get onto Facebook. Here's how to activate your account. Here's how to make friends on the Facebook. Yeah.
How cool is that?
It wasn't something we had planned on doing. It just sort of fell into our lap. And then I think word spread. And so now if you need help with Facebook, I can give you our number and feel free to leave a message and we can help you the best that we can. So
that was the single most unexpected answer I expected you to give, was that you guys were acting as a call center, but it makes perfect sense in terms of just as you would intake someone in a physical center, having the ability to walk someone through account creation for the medium that you're using to deliver that message is like having that skill set, that customer service skill set would be so important. Can you give us an idea of like how many folks are accessing this and like what are you hearing on the ground, either, anecdotally or what you're seeing?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we invited all of our members to join it. And before a few days, we probably had like 300 members. And then what happened was we were getting requests from other people to join that I think our members were inviting them in. And so we thought, well, what does it hurt? It doesn't. So we allow then people access. So we have close to 350 members now. And again, if anybody's interested in joining our Facebook page, it's OhioHealth Mansfield Fitness Center members. That's the name of the group. And they would have access to all our videos. Yep.
So OhioHealth Mansfield Fitness Center members, and that's a group or a page that they can like or join on Facebook.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Great. That's awesome.
We've been hearing a lot of positive feedback. One of my favorites was, "Thank you. This feels normal again."
That's super cool. That has to be
basic, but it's true. Yeah.
Well, and it's a great example of adapting to an environment where you have a little bit less control, but you're using different methodologies to gain back some agency and more importantly, help your clients get back some agency in their lives. Chris, how are you guys doing it? I'm really intrigued with what you're up to at Black Belt.
Yeah. So first I want to say I'm intrigued also by, Emily's remark about the call center for Facebook. That's pretty cool. It sounds like Mark Zuckerberg, you should be throwing some commission towards
I think so, right? There's something in there.
But as far as our training is concerned here at Black Belt Pro Fitness, we have been doing one-way virtual training for the past 2 years because we have a competition team. They're from all over the country. So I have a built-in production studio that we, put in early on for that purpose. Now, we weren't ready for the influx, just like everyone else that came from the pandemic, but we certainly had, a few steps, a head start on. And what we've been able to do is we've pivoted into the two-way, which is, of course, using Zoom and Google platforms so that we're working with students and we can be more corrective. And that, it's been pretty cool because having been doing one way for a long time, I never really thought that it would have been possible to give that real feel for two-way, but it really does. It's just the adjustment for me is the creak in my neck because I'm looking up at a television instead of looking at people, eye to eye.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a little bit of an adjustment, but we feel very fortunate here with the technology platform that we have in place. We've been able to connect with well over 300 clients, whether it be athletes or, fitness clients, and it's going really well. We are Zooming 40 hours a week and we're taping and shooting at least 20 on top of that. So we're putting out crazy content right now. We also have a private group on Facebook that we push free content, virtual content to the community. That's one way. We did that just as a way to keep people active, the same way that OhioHealth is opening theirs up. I think it's very important that we all come together. Richland County is really blessed because we do have a very strong fitness community that cares about everyone. And I love seeing that. My wife actually works at OhioHealth and works out in the center that Emily manages. And they're doing great things over there. And I just think it's contagious. And for me, it makes me really love what I do when I see, Emily doing what she's doing and others in the community. So yeah, we've adjusted, but I'll tell you, we are the type of people here that we're constantly trying to evolve. So now we're evolving on the post-production side. So I'm like finding myself becoming, a videographer. I never thought that I would sit down and spend 3 hours using Adobe, Premiere Pro, but I'm doing that now. And I went through the tutorials. I'm a very hands-on person. I don't like waiting, so I want to learn. So I've been spending a lot of time, adapting to the technology.
Yeah, it really is about that. And I think it's important to note, I think many of the services that you guys just described, you're offering free to the public right now virtually. Is that correct?
Yes.
Those are yeses from both of those guys. So we don't want, one of the things about coronavirus conversations, if you're just joining us, my name's Jay Allred. I'm the president of Source Media Properties. I'm joined by my colleague, Brittany Schock, here in the chat. And this is Coronavirus Conversations. We're talking with Emily Freeman of the OhioHealth Fitness Center and Chris Hershberger of Black Belt Pro Fitness about how you stay fit and healthy and well in the midst of a pandemic where there's all sorts of things that you used to be able to do that you can't do. And the purpose of this series has always been for the last 3 weeks to make our journalism and the work that we do helpful and useful to our community and to connect them using tools that we didn't use before to, just as you guys are doing, to answers to the questions that come in, that pour into the Source newsroom all the time. And, we really appreciate that. And, thanks, Brittany. I want to also thank Christina Thompson, who's lurking in the background in the chat. Well, she's in the chat. She's not actually lurking, but she's actually helping in the chat by posting links and helping people connect with resources from OhioHealth. So thank you, guys. And thank you for joining us today on Coronavirus Conversations. I find, this is just a personal observation, that right now, just any kind of movement outdoors for me is helpful. My work is principally an indoor job. I stare at a screen a lot. I send a lot of messages. I make a lot of phone calls. I'm sort of a classic paper pusher at this point in my career. And I don't love that, but it's true. But a walk with the dog, mowing the lawn, any of those things make me feel, I don't know, I feel clearer after that. Am I weird, or is there some reason why I feel that way?
I'll defer to Emily.
Oh,
yeah.
I think that's a good weird. If you are weird, that's a good weird to have. I think a lot of people, just outdoors just makes you feel 10 times better. The sun just changing the environment. So we're really lucky that the past few days have been pretty nice. And I don't know about the weather forecast coming up, But yeah, definitely getting up and getting moving, especially during this time. We don't want the recliner to be our best friend right now. Since our gym's taken away, and since we're trying to social distance, we don't want to necessarily just stay cooped up in the house. There's nothing out there that says you can't get outside, and so I think that's a great thing to do. I'm a firm believer that sitting is the new smoking, and so you need to get up, whatever that looks like.
So, but there's physiological reasons for that too, right? I mean, vitamin D is just good for you, and limited, and movement of any kind. You don't necessarily have to have on jogging pants, but movement of any kind is good, right? I mean, because I think sometimes we think that if I'm not doing 60 minutes on the treadmill, it doesn't count, right? And I think that's probably a myth that you guys are pretty intent on dispelling for people, isn't it?
I think it's in our DNA to move. I think that's what a lot of people oftentimes forget. Sedentary lifestyle is basically, like Emily referred, it's almost a disease in and of itself as a behavior, just not moving, because our bodies are designed to move. And when you do get outside and you soak in that sun a little bit, you feel better, as you guys mentioned. But also, what's personally happened for me as far as getting outside is I've been able to go on more walks with my wife and kids. Just that kind of thing has been a blessing. So not being cooped up in a room staring at a computer editing video, has been a major blessing for me. So, and I have found that, even through this pandemic, that there are so many opportunities now because we're not fixed on the schedule. Actually, the way things stand now, I have more control over my schedule. Although I may be working more hours, I have more control when those hours are. So I'm actually, really enjoying being able to spend time with my family, whether it be at the dinner table or outside taking a walk, enjoying the outside, seeing people. I haven't waved to as many neighbors in the last, 6 months as I have in the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So I think there are blessings in this that are silver linings for sure.
Yeah, Ohioans are definitely behaving like Ohioans and Midwesterners. They're doing their very best to take care of each other during this particular time. So, our senior population is particularly restricted right now. We talked about in an earlier episode with the Area Agency on Aging, the effects of isolation and honestly, sometimes the fears that our seniors and our elders have about. They watch Mike DeWine and they're afraid to leave their house sometimes. And Dewana and Teresa recounted some stories that they had and phone calls that they had from some elders in our community that just asked, "Can I go in my backyard? Is it safe?" So I'd like it. What are some simple tips for our seniors to help them stay healthy and active in their later years, even if you might not be able to do just exactly the kind of thing that you want?
Sure. Yeah. So we work with a lot of seniors here at the Ontario Health and Fitness Center. And this place has become almost a place of socialization for them too. So not only when this epidemic came and we closed down the gyms, we're also really cutting off a lot of people's social life. So during this pandemic that we're in, we need to focus on two things. We need to focus on staying active, but we need to be flexible with that, knowing that your workout routine is going to look a lot different than it did. And that's okay. Just stay moving, stay active. And then we also need to focus on making sure that we're staying connected. We definitely need to continue doing the social distancing, but that doesn't mean we need to be social isolating. There's ways to stay connected. A lot of it is virtual, but there are ways that we can stay connected. And so I would encourage anybody, seniors or not seniors, whatever that looks like for you. If you are tech savvy and you can set up Zoom or Google Hangout or Skype, do it. Find a group of people. We're all in the same boat. If that's a little bit advanced for you, then get out your phone, start sending text messages, call people, but don't isolate during this time. That's not going to help.
Chris, any tips from you? I'm not sure how often you work with elders or have in the past, but I'm sure that you've got some ideas about just being able to use your own weight or your own body just as a resistance mechanism, even if you can't get to the gym. I know we've talked a little bit about that in the past.
Yeah, definitely. So, the senior population, requires a little bit more prudence as far as exercise, in my opinion, because of, we've got to be safer, and that kind of thing. And a mistake as an 82-year-old is much different than a 42-year-old mistake. So I oftentimes tell seniors that this is the time to really focus on learning more about how your body is your machine, and oftentimes people say, I need this, I need that, but we've all been gifted this wonderful machine that can do many things and can heal itself. And so I oftentimes tell our senior population to focus on a lot of stretching, core mobility and that kind of stuff. Because when you're at that age, functionality, in my opinion, is one of the most important things. We take for granted reaching up and getting things out of cupboards, but people that are feeling extreme pain in their shoulders or necks while doing so, they see it differently. So when I'm working with the senior population, I really focus on functional training, utilizing, their machine and that kind of thing. And then the biggest thing too that I've seen is the psychological side of it. And that is many seniors kind of give up. They just kind of get to the point where they say, you know what, I've lived a good life, I'm good, and they don't want to put any more effort to that. And I understand it because I have that feeling sometimes as a 45-year-old, right? Can imagine what that feeling would be like in my 70s and 80s. So I definitely understand. But I think a book that I just read 3 months ago by David Goggins, one of the things that really stuck out to me was learning to slay the 1 second decision. And that means that everybody says yes or no to anything they think about doing in 1 second. And so we oftentimes will rely on exterior motivational forces, but we ultimately have to say, yes, I'm going to go out for that walk, or yes, I'm going to lie down and stretch a little bit, first thing in the morning. We have to slay the 1 second decision. And I find that that's probably one of the biggest barriers for many of the clients, regardless of the demographic.
So how can folks, at this point in time, I'm sure that we have a number of folks that are interested on Facebook or on our chat here on Crowdcast that are interested in contacting you guys. So Brittany's here in the chat with us, and I know that Christina is as well. Can you share some contact information for, and we'll start with you, Em. How can people reach you guys at the fitness center or the virtual fitness center? What's your preferred contact information now during these times?
Sure. I can share with you our email address. It's Ontario OHC at OhioHealth.com. I don't think I've ever emailed that email address, but that's our email. You can also call us. We're here at the fitness center on Monday through Friday. So if you just need someone to talk to for a second, I'll run a few ideas by. We would love to chat with you. It's 419-526-8900. And then I was just going to say something else. Right now, usually the biggest barrier to exercise is time, guys. Usually people say, I don't have enough time to exercise. We don't have that excuse anymore. So if that's been your excuse for a while, as you just was listening to like Chris talking and just about just making those 1 second decisions, that just popped into my head that you don't have that excuse. If you're here listening to this, you have time. And so now let's take advantage of this, because hopefully down the road you won't have time anymore, but now you do. So
Jay, can I say something real quick?
Oh, please do.
Well, I just want to make an observation that I find endearing. Emily is like the sweetest person you'll ever meet. And I remember this as, she was a group fitness instructor at the YMCA, and she developed a reputation, although being super nice and smiling oftentimes, as one of the toughest, trainers and group class instructors that I've ever known. And it just came out. She's like, no excuses. Everybody's got time. And I love that. I love it, because that's what we need. It's what I call gentle motivation that comes from, people like Emily. So I appreciate that. I just want to throw that out there.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
That's right.
So Chris, how can folks contact you guys at Black Belt?
Yeah, so you can actually use my direct email, chris@blackbeltprofitness.com, or you can visit our website, which is going to have the same email, blackbeltprofitness.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/blackbeltprofitness. And we would love to be able to help in any way, shape, or form. We're like OhioHealth, we're offering free virtual classes. We do some very specific martial arts instruction. What's been really working for our free virtual community program is, kids are doing taekwondo right in their living rooms, and I'm getting messages back from parents saying, this is amazing. He's expending energy or she's expending energy. And so that's what really makes me happy, knowing that kids are moving and not cooped up, on video games all day and that kind of thing. So we would love for anyone to contact us with questions or how we might be able to help to get them started on their fitness journey.
This is great. I want to encourage, first of all, if you're joining us a little late, we're at Coronavirus Conversations. This is our Friday edition, and we're visiting with Emily Freeman from the OhioHealth Ontario Fitness Center and Chris Hershberger of Black Belt Pro Fitness. I'm Jay Allred. I'm with the Source Media Properties, and Coronavirus Conversations is really brought to you by we're powered by our members, our individual members, our newsroom partners, our advertisers, and in this particular case, through a small grant from the Facebook Journalism Project. So we thank all of them for supporting this work. If you're not a member of The Source and over the past few weeks, you've come to find yourself valuing the coverage that our team has been doing of COVID-19 and coronavirus, and we've been helpful or useful to you in any way, I would encourage you to smash the green button that says support our reporting on your Crowdcast screen, or if you're joining us on Facebook, to go to sourcemembers.com and please consider a membership. 100% of every dollar that you give to the Source through your membership goes to power the reporting of Brittany and Emily and Katie and all of the folks in our newsroom. Well, not Emily anymore. She left us about a year ago to go be a mom, and we miss her terribly, as you can tell. But Brittany and all the staff in the newsroom, that powers their work, and we'd really love for you to become a member. There's great benefits, but that's the end of my plugging. So I want to move. We're going to pivot now to audience questions. So if you have a question for Emily or Chris, please make sure that you drop those questions either in the chat in any of the places where you're watching us right now. We'll get them in front of those guys, and we'll see if we can get your question answered for you. So one thing that we have here is from Scott Todd on Facebook. Scott's a friend of mine. Welcome, Scott. It's good to sort of see you. What to do when severe joint pain limits the exercises that he can do? So Scott's dealing with some joint pain, maybe some arthritis, but it's limiting some of the exercises that he can do. And I know Scott, if you don't know him, he's a very fit man, avid cyclist. So this is a guy that exercises a lot, but he's dealing with some joint pain. What can he do?
Pain, is your body's way of telling you to stop. So you do need to listen to your body without listening to what a doctor says or going to physical therapist. It might be hard to give you specific recommendations, but I would definitely listen to your body when when something's putting you into pain, and change either the range of motion or the depth, or think of a different activity that might not be as impactful or cause as much stress on the joints to do that. I don't know, maybe Chris has some good ideas.
Yeah. So basically what I tell clients whenever I'm posed with that question is there are multitudes of exercises out there. And I'll tell you, one thing that I do as a trainer, and I've done for many years and maybe not for years to come, is whenever I work with a certain client, I've worked with marathoners to Ironmen and all that stuff. I actually do their stuff because I want to be able to relate. I want to know what kind of training I'm putting them through, what the thresholds are and that kind of thing. But what I've found over the years is that there are so many things out there. And, I'm at my core a martial artist, but, I've been doing yoga for 20 years. I've been doing Pilates for about the same amount of time. We are under no shortage of information when it comes to proper movement for our bodies. So what I would encourage is, after consulting a physician, of course, and figuring out your true limitations, because Emily's right, pain is that indicator. Go out there and try some new things. You'd be surprised what you start enjoying. About 3 years ago, I found a football player. He was a D1 football player out of Michigan, and I was working with him. And this guy is the biggest, you would look at him and think He's huge, and you would definitely like think he was a meathead, like one of those guys that just powerlifting all the time. But he is absolutely just in love with yoga right now. This guy is doing yoga like 60 minutes a day, and I get messages from him all the time. Thanks for turning me on to this. I love it. And it's because he expanded his mind and looked at something that he may have thought before would not have been beneficial. So expand your mind, try some new things, be very safe, listen to your body.
This is our last chance for you guys to ask your questions. I want to make sure that we thank our guests today. We were so glad to have you guys both on this final episode of this 3-week group of coronavirus conversations. We are going to take a breath next week and regroup a little bit about what direction this takes in the midst of the pandemic and how we can continue to be helpful and useful to you, our readers and listeners. We're very glad that you joined us. I want to thank Emily Freeman from the Ontario OhioHealth Fitness Center. I want to thank Chris Hershberger for joining me from Black Belt Pro Fitness, and all of the guests that we have had over the last 3 weeks who've taken the time out of their day with no compensation, with nothing other than the heart and mind of our community and their wellness, and wanting to help them manage through this, for joining us. We're very, very grateful. Again, thank you to all of our members, our newsroom partners, our supporters, and our readers for being part of our lives. We're very glad to have you. And if you'd like to continue to support the Source's journalism, please become a member at sourcemembers.com. Until next time, and we will be sure to let you know when next time is, we want to thank you again for joining us. On behalf of Brittany Schock and all of our newsroom, we are very grateful for your time with us and the time that you spend with us. So stay safe and healthy out there, and continue to look forward and continue to try to be helpful and useful to the rest of your community, just as you are to yourselves. Adios, and thank you for joining us on Coronavirus Conversations. Have a great day, everybody.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye.